What's up? Do you know what makes the heart shrink? Here's the answer. Scientific studies have shown that long space flights and endurance swimming can make the heart shrink. Normal folks have never experienced long space flights, and that's usual. But maybe a lot of you here have tried endurance swimming or swimming for a long time, right? Well, at least not across the Pacific. A study led by Dr. Benjamin Levin, professor of internal medicine at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, compared the effect of astronaut Scott Kelly's years in space with a marathon swim by athlete Benoit Lagampe. It was concluded that long space flights and endurance swimming could cause the heart to shrink. As you might know, there is only microgravity, or not much gravity, in space and the ocean, and so the heart can easily pump blood up and around the body without gravity making its job harder. If the heart doesn't have to pump that hard, it will shrink because it has an easy workload. In both cases, after the heart shrank, the characters did not do enough exercise to expand the heart. One of the things we've learned over many years of study is that the heart is remarkably plastic, so the heart adapts to the load that's placed on it. Professor Levin, who is also director of the Institute for Exercise and Environmental Medicine, told BBC News. In spaceflight, one of the things that happens is you no longer have to pump blood up you because you're not pumping against gravity. During the study, Scott Kelly spent 340 days on the International Space Station to allow scientists to study the effect of long-duration flight on the human body. On Benoit Lagampe's side, he tried to swim across the Pacific Ocean, having previously swam across the Atlantic. He swam 2,821 kilometers over 159 days, eventually abandoning the attempt. Swimming for very long periods also changes the load placed on the heart by gravity, because the person is in a horizontal position rather than vertical. Lagampe swam an average of 5.8 hours per day, sleeping for around 8 hours each night. This means that he was spending between 9 and 17 hours each day in a horizontal state. Because both men were no longer pumping blood uphill, as Professor Levin puts it, their hearts begin to lose mass. When we look at the left ventricle, which is the place where blood is pumped to the body of the heart, we see about 20 to 25% loss in total mass over the 4 or 5 months that Mr. Lagampe was swimming, said co-author Dr. James McNamara. We saw specifically 19% and 27% of mass lost for Captain Kelly over the year. Exercise, however, counteracts the process of mass loss. Astronauts on the International Space Station are already subjected to an intense exercise routine to keep their muscle and bones healthy, as muscle and bone wear-offs are common in their orbit. Even so, this exercise routine wasn't enough to prevent the heart atrophy seen in Captain Kelly. At the start of the study, researchers had wondered whether the amount of physical exercise Mr. Lagampe was doing in the water might be enough to prevent the heart tissue wasting. I absolutely thought that Lagampe's heart would not atrophy. That's one of the nice things about science. You learn the most when you find things you didn't expect, said Professor Levin. It turns out when you swim for that many hours a day, it's not like Michael Phelps. He's not swimming as hard as he can. Instead, Mr. Lagampe kicked his legs relatively lightly throughout. It's just not that much activity. Low levels of physical activity do not protect the heart from adapting to the absence of gravity, said Professor Levin. The heart adaptations, however, aren't long-term. Both men's heart returned to normal once they were back on terra firma. Isn't that interesting?